The sun had already set when Laura arrived at the restaurant. She was nervous, but excited for her first date with John. As she walked through the door, she saw him sitting at the table, a bouquet of flowers in hand. John stood up to greet her, his eyes lighting up as he saw her. They hugged and exchanged pleasantries before settling into their seats. The conversation flowed easily, with each of them sharing stories and learning more about each other. They laughed and joked as they ordered their meals, the restaurant buzzing around them. As they waited for their food, John leaned across the table and took Laura's hand. She felt a jolt of electricity pass between them. Their meals arrived and they enjoyed each other's company, savoring the food and the conversation. As the night wore on, they found themselves lost in each other's eyes, their laughter filling the air. When they finished eating, John stood up and held out his hand. "Let's go for a walk," he said with a smile. They strolled hand in hand through the nearby park, the sound of their footsteps the only thing breaking the peaceful silence. The stars twinkled overhead as they talked and laughed, feeling more and more comfortable in each other's company. As they approached a fountain, John stopped and turned to Laura. "I know it's only our first date," he said, "but I feel like I've known you forever." Laura smiled and leaned in for a kiss. They stood there, lost in each other's embrace, the water from the fountain softly splashing behind them. As the night grew later, they made their way back to the restaurant, their hearts beating faster with each step. When they said goodbye, they hugged tightly, not wanting to let go. Laura walked away, feeling like she was walking on air. She knew that John was someone special, and that this was just the beginning of their journey together. She couldn't wait to see where it would take them. The next night, John suggested they take a stroll along the waterfront. Laura was surprised and delighted by the idea, and she eagerly took his arm as they walked. The moon was full and bright, casting a soft glow over the water. They walked slowly, savoring the peaceful sound of the waves lapping against the shore. As they walked, John told Laura about his childhood growing up by the sea. He spoke passionately about his love for the water and the freedom it gave him. Laura listened with rapt attention, feeling a deep connection with John as he spoke. They walked for what seemed like hours, lost in each other's company. Finally, they came to a small pier that jutted out into the water. John led Laura to the end of the pier, where they sat down together, their feet dangling over the edge. They sat in silence for a few moments, watching the waves and feeling the cool breeze on their faces. Then John turned to Laura and took her hand in his. "Laura," he said softly, "I've been thinking about you a lot since our first date. I feel like we have a real connection, and I want to see where this goes." Laura felt her heart race as she looked into John's eyes. She could see the sincerity and depth of his feelings for her, and it filled her with a warm, glowing feeling. "I feel the same way, John," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. John leaned in and kissed Laura, a gentle and tender kiss that left her breathless. They held each other tightly, lost in the moment and the feeling of being so close. As they parted, John smiled at Laura, his eyes shining with happiness. "I'm so glad we're here together," he said. "Me too," Laura replied, her own heart full of joy and gratitude. They sat together for a while longer, talking and laughing, enjoying each other's company as the night wore on. And as they finally said goodnight and parted ways, both knew that they had found something truly special in each other.